Hi, this is AP Stedham of AP As We See You live in Atlanta, Georgia. At the 2025 SEC Football Media Days, we'll be discussing the LSU Tigers with our very special guest,
Fletcher Mackel from WDSU TV in New Orleans.
Hey, thank you, Fletcher. Fletcher, you start with the quarterbacks, of course. Garrett Nussmeier, he's one of the tops in the conference, maybe the country, Heisman Trophy candidate. What would you like to say about Garrett Nussmeier?
He can spin it. He's crazy talented from an arm talent perspective. Since the day he walked on campus, he was a heralded kid coming out of Texas. And there were some people that thought he may beat out Jaden Daniels when he was a freshman. I think Jaden Daniels' experience obviously won out there. But when you watch him, I mean, he spins the ball like very few. I covered Burrow. I covered Jaden Daniels, and I'm not saying he's going to have that type of success, but from an arm talent perspective and throwing the football, he is as elite, if not more so, than them.
That would be quite a trifecta at LSU in Baton Rouge.
It would be something. Look, they went from being a barren wasteland, can't find a quarterback, can't recruit and develop a quarterback, to now Burrow, Jaden, and if Nussmeier does some special things, they're becoming quarterback U.
Brian Kelly, he's a good offensive coach. That's his forte.
Sure. Look, Brian Kelly's just a good coach, period. I mean, look, you look at his track record going all the way back. I mean, you can go all the way back to when he got into coaching and then really when he kind of came onto the scene. I remember in Cincinnati, I know you can go back even further. And then at Notre Dame, he's a winner everywhere he's ever been. He's a CEO who knows how to run a program from the top down. He knows what it takes. He's adaptable. He is really good for LSU. And on paper, he believes that this is his best team. The games aren't played on paper. It's rhetoric until it's reality. But, you know, look, his first year they went to the SEC championship. Great. They were coming off a couple of rough years, the final years of Ed Ogeron. His second year, historic offense with Jaden Daniels, terrible defense. Last year, in the playoff conversation, even after the loss against USC early, then they struggle in November. This year, they have a very complete team, at least on paper.
Who's going to be the person or persons they fear on the outside to help Garrett Nussmeier?
Yeah, so Chris Hilton Jr., he's at SEC Football Media Days. And then Aaron Anderson, a kid from New Orleans, Carr High School, powerhouse program, went to Alabama, has transferred back to LSU. Those are his 1 and 2, and they are both elite. And LSU has produced a lot of really good receiving talent in recent years. So those are kind of his 1 and 2 is as far as the receiving core goes for Garrett Nussmeier. And he had some big plays with Anderson last year. Look, he got him in the end zone in that Ole Miss game to send the game to overtime. And that was as big time of a play as you'll see anywhere. Even I saw some analysts say, like, you break that play down, the timing of it, the tempo of it, the execution of it, and it looked like a Sunday afternoon play.
Mason Taylor off to the New York Jets. What about the tight end position?
Why don't we just lump in the whole O-line kind of together, tight end, because that's their biggest question marks, really.
Right.
Look, Brian Kelly in this, they spent a ton on NIL. They spent, they had the best portal class. They have shored up a defense. Blake Baker on the defensive side of the ball from a coaching staff does a great job. They improved last year. They should be better on that side of the ball. Nussmeier at quarterback is a potential first-round draft pick and a potential Heisman Trophy candidate. The receivers are elite. They've got some talent like Harlem Berry at running back, a young guy. Yeah. But look, they lost 4 offensive linemen to the NFL. They lost Mason Taylor as a tight end to the NFL. Those are the big question marks. I think they have talent there, but until they do it, it's their only question mark. And it's a big question mark, but they seem confident in the guys they have.
Yeah, they have to revive that running game to have some balance, not to tee off on the quarterback, of course.
It's one of the things they haven't been able to get going is to find that elite running back. Not that, look, the game has changed so much. I remember the days when you had like the Deuce McAllisters of the world and these bell cow, Ricky Williamses, these bell cow running backs, and it's like a war of attrition. You wear teams down, right. And in the fourth quarter, your running back and your O-line have worn the other team into right. smithereens. And that was it. Now it's just so much different, but you do need to have that type of special player at that position. And look, being from the New Orleans area, Harlem Berry's a guy we've been talking about for a while. Let's see what he can do. Maybe it's too much too soon as a true freshman, but maybe it's not.
Looking at the defensive side, Whitweek's excellent linebacker. Mm-hmm. Can Harold Perkins ascend again to that effective defensive player he was a couple years ago? Yeah,
it's one of those things that, look, last year, Braden Swinson, a transfer, became kind of their rush specialist, so to say. Harold Perkins last year, I think, was trying to show off for the NFL and wanted the coaching staff to put him in a position to show how elite he was in the NFL, but he's still in college. Brian Kelly said it at this event here in Atlanta that he feels like Harold Perkins is bought in more than he ever has been. And I think Harold Perkins realizes trust in the coaching staff, have success with us, and that'll lead to NFL success. It's not just about you showing off for the NFL, and if we do okay, great. If we're not okay, it's got to be one. We've got to walk together forever if we're going to get where we want to get and you're going to get where you're going to get. And Brian Kelly said that he's motivated, he's rehabbed, and he's completely bought in to the different ways they want to use him. Because I do think last year there was this pressure to play him in coverage, show that he's not just this, blitz specialist, and it really didn't work out. And then he got injured against UCLA, which was really hard. But Swinson ended up getting drafted pretty high. I think that Weeks and I'm having a blank here. We just said his name.
Oh,
Harold Perkins. Sorry, I'm getting confused here. I think could have really big years for LSU.
Will Harold be ready?
Yeah, Brian Kelly said that absolutely. He and Whit Weeks. Whit Weeks got hurt in the bowl game. It was really hard to watch. And that was one of the things about Whit Weeks. When he got injured in that bowl game, the entire team went out to the cart to pat him on his shoulder pads. You see how influential he is in that locker room when the entire team and coaching staff leave the bench, go to the goal line for a guy who suffered a dislocated broken ankle, but it's a gruesome injury in a bowl game. And yeah, so he said he's going to be healthy, and Perkins is going to be healthy as well. I can't believe I forgot Perkins' name.
Outside the 504, let people know about Brian Kelly's status. I mean, people might think this is his year. It's a must-win. You have to reach the playoffs, but explain that to the people outside the 504.
So I do think there's a lot of pressure on Brian Kelly.
Yes,
look, he came
absolutely.
in here. He's the only coach to ever willingly leave Notre Dame, where he had a team on the cusp of a playoffs when he left. He's been to the BCS championship game. He's had a lot of success. But anybody who thinks Brian Kelly is getting fired is crazy. I mean, financially, it's probably impossible. And he was hired by an athletics director in Scott Woodward that has hired a baseball coach in Jay Johnson that just won his second national championship, who hired Kim Mulkey, who is popular in winning, who hired a gymnastics coach that has led them to a national championship. And I know football is the king of kings and football matters most, but Brian Kelly got like a 10-year contract, and the buyouts and the payouts would be insane. And Scott Woodward, if there was ever any talk of firing Brian Kelly, you'd have to fire Scott Woodward. There is no appetite to fire Scott Woodward. He's on the cusp of building a new arena for the basketball team and finally getting rid of the dated PMAC. And so while there are fans with their pitchforks out of, Brian Kelly, he's not one of us. He's this, he's this guy from the North who doesn't understand all that kind of stuff. And then, he stumbles and loses these games he should win. At the end of the day, I think they're good. I think they're going to the playoffs. But if they don't worry, he's not getting fired. They're not getting rid of him. It's not even on the table from a financial standpoint or a support standpoint for the people that matter.
And he mentioned today, Brian Kelly, that they're short of money. He said he said $13 million. So
yeah,
I don't think there's the finances.
No, and again, look, that's just the world we live in. And you could talk about it forever. I could talk about it forever. I mostly cover the Saints and the Pelicans, and I remember a time when pro sports was one thing and college sports was another thing. College sports, we talk more about money and NIL and buying players and who has the most money now than anything. And these coaches have parlayed that, especially at the power conference football programs, into contracts that are almost inescapable, that like they cannot get rid of these coaches unless they want to go, because the buyouts are just crazy. I mean, look, I'm not kidding. I think after this season it would still be $50 million to fire Brian Kelly. And that's, look, $17 million for Ed Ogeron was whoa, that's crazy. Yes. Like $17 million to fire a guy who won the national championship 2 years before. I don't think there's a world that if Brian Kelly in year 4 doesn't get to the playoffs, they cough up $50 million to get rid of him. Yeah.
Like you're in court, you need a good judge. With a coach, you need a good agent. He's got one.
And look, let me say this, and that's something that's wrong with college athletics, is that the coaches have parlayed this into basically lifetime or decade-long contracts, whereas that doesn't happen. Again, like I referenced that. There was a time when it seemed like the pros were the ones, it was all about money and you can't do this and you can do that. And now that's what we're talking about with colleges. And now pro teams are firing coaches, like the Phoenix Suns are on coach 4 in 4 years, like Detroit fired 3 coaches in 3 years. I mean, now it's easier for them to do that than it ever was for a college program to do something like that now.
Hey, great perspective,
All right,
Fletcher.
sorry,
Thank
I know
you.
I babble a lot.
That's okay. No, it was great, Fletcher. Thank you so much. This is AP Stidham live from Atlanta, Georgia, 2025 SEC Football Media Days. Thank you, Fletcher.
Thank you.